Welcome everyone. Today is Friday, March 1st here in New Zealand. For many of you, it may be Thursday, February 29th. Bit of a leap year this year. This is the fortnightly SIG etcd triage meeting. In this meeting, we try and tackle some of the cleanup and the organization and some of the just general triage for the project. Just having a quick look at who's on the call. We may not get into too much triage today because I can see it's pretty much just regular contributors. We don't have any new folks on the call today, so I'm not sure how much we'll be able to assign out and look at. But I was going to talk about tests for a little bit in this session, team. We need to try and focus in on this stuff. So let me share a screen and we'll get into it. Okay, cool. Let me know once that's coming through. All good? Cool. Okay, team. So this might be a quick meeting given we don't have a heap of folks on, but we can just go through it really quickly. We've got a pinned issue right now for the project to focus on fixing flaky test cases and bugs. I would actually like to restrict this initially to flaky test cases rather than bugs as well, and just try and fix a few of these flakes. Thanks to Benjamin for writing this up and getting this pinned. We have a list, so there is a dedicated filter in GitHub for type flake, and it's been a little bit interesting lately since we adopted some of the Kubernetes tooling, which has given us fancy things like /retest. We maybe haven't been as good as at recording some of the flakes as we have historically, because they're a little bit less annoying now that you can just /retest, but it is important. So the ask is there, if you are seeing workflow failures, please let us know, and it's just through a template for reporting a flake, which is pretty straightforward. So we have a list here. Some of them are assigned out already, and one of the things we can do today is probably just quickly check in on some of the ones that are assigned and do a couple quick follow-ups and see if folks are still keen to work on them. And maybe also just have a look at some of the unassigned ones, although we don't have Ivan maybe has time to look at some, I'm not sure. I don't want to volunteer people.
I think Suyuan's been working on the flaky test. Suyuan?
Yeah, I'm working on like the general workflows. I'm trying to work on some like auto issue creation based on test grid results.
Yes, yeah, and I saw you've also got one of the older flakes from last year assigned as well. This one here. Yeah, thanks, Jan. I saw there's some stuff underway. Maybe for anyone that hasn't seen it yet, just very quickly, test grid, some of the new tooling from Kubernetes World helps us visualize this stuff. So, for example, if you are looking at the pre-submits, they actually break it down by test case in here, which is pretty awesome, team. Rather than going and digging through like the individual logs for an individual run, you can see all the runs visualized over time, which is really helpful to start digging into where the flakes are.
So what I'm trying to work on is based on these test grid, we can maybe create bugs like automatically based on past runs.
That would make sense. Yeah, that would be really nice. Yeah, we haven't been super great at manually creating the flake issues. Maybe if we look at a specific one. So I had one up earlier. Here we go. So this is what it will look like, team, when we have a failure. This is for compactor for periodic skip ref not change. you can jump into the logs, just clicking into the failure, and you'll get a summary, depending like how good our how good our logs are. You'll get a little bit of a hint at where things are going wrong. So if we look at this build log here, there we go. So periodic test 2 through 3, actions 0, expected greater than equal to 1. So it gives you a hint on where to start looking, what file and what the output is. Obviously, one of the things that may be helpful for folks digging into these is if we share a terminal for a second. Let me just do this. Can you see a terminal now, team?
Yes.
Yep, cool. Okay, so I've just got etcd checked out here. And if you're looking at an individual test, in this case, this compactor one, let's just jump into where that is. And we know we can run, go test, right? And execute an individual test. That's all pretty straightforward. But for anyone that hasn't tinkered with it before, it is quite handy to pass the compile flag to that. And when we do that, we don't get any output, but we do get a compile binary here for that individual test. And I've actually got one running down below. I've been running it for 26 minutes. It's this exact one, which you can then run that binary with stress to run it a whole bunch of times. So that can sometimes help reproduce some of the flakes. Doesn't work for everything, but it can help. So just know that that's a thing. You may need to install the stress binary, but it's helpful. So it's a good technique. Okay, team, I will stop sharing terminal and we'll jump back to the list. Okay, there we go. So just for a couple of minutes, I was just going to quickly check in on some of the older ones that are assigned. This one's used, Sion. Did you have any luck with this one here for storage backend?
No, so this is very old.
It is July last year.
Yeah, so I haven't really looked into it yet. Yeah, I'll probably have more time next week.
Okay, it looks like the flake
It's
reporter
was
was using stress to reproduce it, and it was less than 1% of the time. Oh, and it's okay. It's only on PowerPC. So this is where it gets a little interesting, team. Like sometimes we see flakes that only occur on particular CPU architectures, and this is where our definition of like support levels for different CPU architectures kind of comes into play, because PowerPC for SCD is like a tier 3, like best efforts kind of support situation. And like, does it make sense for us to be investing a whole bunch of effort to try and fix a really rare flake on that architecture? In my view, probably not. Like there's other flakes that are more important. So just team, if you are picking up one of these flakes and it's from a reporter that isn't using like Prowl or like Test Grid to track it, just clarify what CPU architecture the flake is on. Because there's been a couple that have been reported for PowerPC, and I don't think it's worth our time at the moment. So maybe I could just put a quick note, and Suan, we could maybe leave this one.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so let's just say discussed during SIG etcd triage meeting. Assigning as RBC, not a priority. Currently, we have flakes for ARM64 and AMD64, which are more critical to address. Okay. Yeah, okay, so let's unassign that. All right, back to our list team. Next up, there's one that Mofi had from a little while back. Again, it's an older one. It goes sort of back to July last year. I'm not sure that this one has actually been reproduced with stress. So that would be a good starting point, like I was just showing, where you can kind of run the individual test to a compiled binary, run that with stress, and see if you can reproduce it and at what rate. So if someone's keen to run that, you could just run it with stress for half an hour and see if you can reproduce it. I wonder if we're seeing anything recent in test grid for that. I wonder if it's still happening. Let me just turn off dark reader. There we go. Let's have a look, team. I am not seeing anything recent. I mean, if we can't reproduce that with stress, maybe we can close that one. It's quite old.
I can try to reproduce it with stress. I'm not sure if I have the bandwidth to actually fix it.
Yeah, that's the eternal challenge, right? But at least let's just see if we can still produce it.
Yep. Can you mention me so I can comment on the ticket?
Just discuss during CNCD triage meeting. Ivan VC will attempt to reproduce this with stress as a first step. Yeah, cool. Thanks, Ivan. And I should just check which architecture was that on. That's AMD64, so that's good news. So you should just be able to run that on like a laptop. Unless you've got an M1 MacBook, in which case you're on ARM64.
Yeah, I have AMD64.
Perfect. Okay, let's have a quick look. Any other teams? So another one here that Murphy was actually, I think, having some trouble with. I've probably got a question for Benjamin here. So
yeah, actually, we see the failure multiple times. I think we see the failure in multiple workflow. So I think we need to, anyway, first we need to figure out the root cause. But I don't have bandwidth to dig into the source code right now. So we need some help from the community.
Okay. So Murphy has had a look at this, and he has got stuck, like trying to dig into the root cause. I mean, I feel like this is going to need
actually
some of your time, Benjamin.
Yeah, I suggest I would expect the contributor can spend some time read the related production source code, understand the logic in the first step. If you dig into the test case in the first step, maybe you couldn't understand the logic behind. So anyway, there's no rush to fix the issue, but you understand this is also an opportunity to understand the production code.
Yeah, okay. Let's just have a look how frequent. Hasn't been for a little while, but might be on different architectures, because I think this is only running on AMD64 in test grid.
Yeah, actually, there are there are a couple of test case in the same package. You can go back to the list. You can see the similar test case failure in the package. Can go back to the list? Yeah.
So I was just going to say, like, I think there's a few things under periodic, like under this particular test file, which are problematic for compactor, because there's another one linked to this as well. Skip rev not change. Yeah, which is also kind of linked to that. So we definitely need to spend some time having a read through that particular package and that particular test file, I think. Okay, I don't think we'll be able to dig too much further into that one in the 10 minutes we have. This might be a good candidate, Benjamin, to do some kind of specific session on, like, we look at this one particular test case, we try and dig through it, but it'll need, maintainer time as well, which is the challenge. So
yeah, I have the rough suggestion, probably for the new contributor, it's some difficult to dig into the source code in first step. Probably we can identify some area in the production, for example, in the compactor or the backend storage engine, or we can identify some area for the contributor to get familiar with. Yeah, for example, if we see similar failure, we can assign the failure to the contributor which has experience in this area. Yeah, I will try to identify some area to probably we can guide the contributor to the source code.
Yeah, I think you've started adding some commentary here at the end of last year, which is helpful. So this starts pointing people in the right direction to where things are potentially a little problematic. Yeah, okay. Cool. Just quickly checking a couple of the other assigned ones. So this one here, maybe we could just quickly check in with Ellen, because it was assigned a few weeks ago. Hang on. This is also related. It's the same.
Yeah. The same package. Yeah.
It's the same package.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, team. I think we possibly leave it there, given we don't have sort of a huge amount of contributors on the call that are have bandwidth to pick up new stuff. Know that there's a number of these flakes that are still unassigned. This one here, I should probably actually assign to myself. It is ARM64 and only ARM64, and not actually an etcd specific thing, I don't think. I think it's actually with the actuated runners, just in terms of setup go action failing, which is kind of weird. It almost seems like the runners have some connectivity problem sometimes, but it is relatively rare. Team, is there anyone that wants to raise anything related to these flakes or discuss anything further? Last 10 minutes, last 8 minutes. No? Okay, so I will call it their team. Slightly shorter than normal, but just a session specifically focused on reviewing the situation with our flakes. Refer back to the meeting doc instructions for how to compile an individual test case out to something that you can run with stress. If you have time, it's a helpful way to see if you can reproduce stuff. And we will resume next week with a open discussion community call. So that's it for today, folks. Have a lovely rest of your day, and we'll hope to see you next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank
See you,
you.
team.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay.